Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. My only paranormal experience ever. I have never posted to Reddit before, and I'm going to try to describe what happened to the best of my ability. I have always believed in the paranormal, alternate dimensions, and extraterrestrials. I just generally believe that the universe is extremely vast, and humans can't possibly mentally grasp everything out there, and anything is possible. However, I've never been very sensitive to anything like that. I've experienced spooky things, sure, but nothing too extreme for me to explain it away. Picture frames that have been hung for years dropping to the floor seemingly out of nowhere in my childhood home, hearing unexplained footsteps, etc. All things I could dismiss. I've also seen several UFOs on the same night. Let me know if you'd like to hear about that. But about a year ago, something happened that I've never been able to explain, and I can't get it out of my head. I am a female living in central Arkansas and was staying in a rent house with my stepsister and her boyfriend. I was 21. It was one floor, 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The living room and dining room are at the front of the house, connecting to the kitchen. Then there is a short hallway going down to all 3 bedroom doors at the back of the house. It was about midnight and my stepsister and her boyfriend both had work early in the morning and were asleep. I was still awake but was getting ready for bed. I also would like to know that I had not been drinking, smoking, or watching anything scary. I had been chilling in my room watching TV and was definitely not in the paranoid state of mind. I remember thinking my room was too warm for me to go to sleep. It was May and Arkansas was already hot for the summer. I decided to turn my TV off and go turn the thermostat down a little bit. The thermostat is located in a little hallway just a few feet from my bedroom door. When you step into the hallway from the bedrooms, you can clearly see into the living room. We had a sliding glass door where you can see into the backyard and a motion sensor light on the back porch. We would not only lock the sliding door, but also had a pole wedged into it from the inside, so it will not open unless you move the pole. When I stepped into the hallway and made just a couple steps towards the thermostat, the motion light out back was on, and I could clearly see 2 people in the living room. They looked like they were facing each other on the couch or just crouching in front of the couch. They were backlit from the outdoor light, so I couldn't clearly see faces, just their outline. At this point, my first thought was that my stepsister and her boyfriend were fooling around in the living room. It was completely dark apart from the outdoor light, no TV or anything, and for some reason, I just thought they were in there to have sex or something. Doesn't make much sense in retrospect, but that was my original thought. I immediately felt embarrassed and loudly said, "Oh, skid guys, I'm sorry." Then the 2 figures who were originally facing each other darted their heads towards me. It was very quick, almost as if I startled them. Thinking I had walked in on them and scared them, I quickly turned around and returned to my room, forgetting about the thermostat. I kinda was giggling to myself, still not feeling scared, just embarrassed, and I thought it was funny. I turned my light off and went to lay down in bed. As I lied there, I was expecting to hear them going back into their room, or laughing or something, some sort of reaction, but nothing came. The house was so silent now without my TV on. I lied there for about 5 minutes, then started to get worried. I decided to call my stepsister to confirm what just happened. I assumed her phone was on silent because her room is right next to mine and I didn't hear a ring. When she didn't answer, I called her boyfriend. His phone rang and he finally answered. It was clear that I had just woken him up because of how his sleepy voice sounded. I asked them if they were in the living room and he said no, that they were both asleep. And he sounded annoyed that I was calling him at midnight, knowing he had to be up around 4. Still not even thinking about ghosts, I told him that I just saw 2 people in the living room and I think people had broken in. He woke my sister up, told her what was going on, and they both grabbed something from the room to use as a weapon. All I had was a pocket knife, but I grabbed it and we all decided to leave our rooms at the same time and step into the hallway. He walked ahead of us and the 3 of us made our way into the living room, turning on lights as we walked. There was nothing. The pole was still wedged into the sliding door from the inside. The deadbolt and lower lock on the front door were still locked, as well as all the windows still being shut and locked. Nothing appeared out of place. They assumed I was high or had been drinking or something, or maybe just saw jackets hanging on the coat hooks. This experience still shakes me up to think about. I stand by there being absolutely no way I could have mistaken a jacket or a shadow for people, because when I spoke, the 2 figures had both quickly turned and faced me. The upper deadbolt on the front door could only be locked from the inside. There was no keyhole for it on the outside, and no way for someone to leave and lock it behind them. There is also no way someone could leave through the sliding glass door and replace the pole on the inside that kept it closed. I have never experienced something like this before or since. I'm certain now that what I saw was otherworldly and not intruders. Nobody believes me though. Thank you, anxioustaylor, the author. I've witnessed Final Destination for real. I apologize for the mobile format, so some background. My mother was a white witch, so I grew up with the occult and have kinda always been interested in and fascinated by the paranormal. I have also spent a decade as a Christian, but have since renounced my faith for myriad reasons. At the time of this first incident, I was a practicing Christian. It was the time before digital cameras, you know, back in the day where you had to go to a Kodak store to get your film developed. I digress. My now ex-wife and 2 kids, daughter 7, son 2, moved into a new rental property that backed onto swamp. Pretty much from our first night there, my son had night terrors and was nearly inconsolable. We did our best to calm him and prayed for him and over the house. The prayers didn't stop the night terrors, and as he started to get better at talking, told us about the wet boy that wanted to play with him. He described what I thought of as a child that had drowned in a swamp. He also had a friend that was little and green with pointy teeth. We had his 3rd or 4th, sorry I can't remember which, birthday party. Got the pictures developed and nearly the entire roll was filled with orbs. I have never put much stock in orbs, dust particles, blah blah blah, but there is one photo that gives me chills just thinking about it. The picture of my son blowing out his candles had what looks like a hand reaching out to grab his hat, made out of light. We had another daughter, and when she was about 3 months old, had a family holiday where my son nearly drowned. After that incident, he hated the water and would pitch an absolute fit to avoid swimming. His aversion to water lasted well into his teen years, but as an Australian, going to the beach with your mates is what you do. The 2 friends he went with are extremely strong swimmers, as in they played water polo and were on the swim team at their school. The boys were wading through knee-high water and my son stepped into a chest-deep trench made by a strong undercurrent. He was swept towards the rocks and under as his friends risked their own lives to try and save him. They sent in the rescue helicopter and we were able to retrieve him, too late. February 3 last year, my son drowned. I think the wet boy of his nightmares finally caught up with him. This was hard for me to write and I thank you for your patience in reading. Thank you, drnkratt, the author. My freaky husband. We moved into a house in Northamptonshire a few years ago and instantly felt something was odd with the house. That feeling when someone is watching you, cold drafts. My husband started feeling compelled to say things. Example, he'd tell me what I'd done during the day, with eerie detail. He'd tell me about the girl who talked to him, but in his head. Things started getting missing or would be moved to random places. One day he said gangoozler out of the blue. I've never heard that word, nor has he. I just assumed it was another one of his made-up words, but it turns out it's a word meaning someone who enjoys watching canals. There are lots of canals in the area and one in the village. When I asked why he said that word, he told me the girl has said it to him and she loved the canal. The weirdest thing that happened though was one evening when both my husband and our daughter wanted a shower. They decided hubby would go first, but as we sat in our bedroom, we heard the bathroom door close, the lights go on and the shower start, so we assumed our daughter must have just beaten him to it. The shower ran for 45 minutes and just as we were going to check she was okay, we heard the shower stop and her come out of the bathroom and go downstairs. The light was left on. My husband turned off the light and followed her downstairs and watched her go into her bedroom, which was downstairs. As he walked into the kitchen though, our daughter walked in the back door. When he asked how she'd gotten dressed and out so quickly, she told him she's been out for the last hour seeing to her horses. So who was in the shower? He saw a girl again a few weeks later, also stood in our daughter's doorway. Lots of other strange things happened there, but never anything scary, just freaky. Anyway, we moved a couple of years ago and nothing has happened since, until this weekend. We went away to a hotel in Cornwall. On the first night, it was very foggy and cold. As we stood outside having a cig, he suddenly said Joan. Joan is waiting in the summer house. I asked what on earth he was talking about. He had a strange look in his face and just said Joan is waiting in the summer house for Derek. Then he sort of snapped out of it, mouth hanging open, and said I have no idea where that came from. We talked about it and he said he felt compelled to say those things. He also felt she was military. We carried on discussing it for a while, then mid-sentence he said he's married and she's waiting in the summer house. A bit spooked, we decided to go back to our room. We searched on the internet and found out that in 1946 a young woman who was serving in the Navy was stationed at the hotel. Her name was Joan. She was having an affair with a married officer. When they found out, she was transferred to another site in Devon. On the night she was due to move, she was waiting for him in the summer house where he shot her twice in the head. His name was William. We were totally freaked out. The man's name was wrong, but at that time people used to be known by other names frequently. Example, my granddad was John but called Jack, and my grandma was Grace but was called Queenie. Perhaps he was really known as Derek. Thank you, Princess Medway, the author. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any new episodes. See you again soon, and until then, please, be safe.